Sumukascha Ekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha Dhumaketurganadhyakshaha Palachandro Gajananaha Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambaha Skandapurvajaha Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Yasyat Virada Vaktradhya Parishadhya Parasatam Vignam Nignanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tamasraye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheswaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Nama Varanane Om Nama Iti Yatra Yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Krita Mastakanjalim Bashpavari Paripurna Lochanam Marutim Namata Rakshasantakam. So the queens took the payasam, the vessel, the pot containing the payasam. King Dasaratha distributed them in equal measures in 3 different containers to each of the queens. So they took it, and as per the instruction of Vasishtha, they went to the puja room, put it in the altar there, and went to take their bath. So what they did, what the ladies did, what the queens did, they went and took their shower. So what Kausalya put her little pot with her share of the payasam in the puja room, and to go and take a shower and come back, take a bath. And Kaikeyi did the same thing. They all took their showers and came back, and Kaikeyi put her little the pot containing her share in her puja room, and she went and did. Same way now, Sumitra also did that. Now what happened was, Kausalya and Kaikeyi brought their cups containing their portion of the payasam into the puja room. They were waiting for Vasishtha and king and all of everybody to come. In the meantime, what Sumitra did, she had taken a bath, and then she came to the parapet, to the veranda, to the parapet, the balcony of her palace. And on the parapet wall, she put the cup of payasam there, her cup of payasam, on the parapet wall, and she started drying her hair. As she was drying her hair, the thought occurred to her, Kausalya's son is by law, by the rule of law, is got the claim to be the next king, the crown prince. And Kaikeyi's son, when he is born, he will have a claim to be the next king because of the promise that King Dasaratha had given to Kaikeyi's father. What happens to my son? She was thinking for a second. So there is no pathway for him to be the king. So he has got to serve the child that's either born to Kausalya or to Kaikeyi, and so throughout his life he will be only serving. He will not be a master. And so she was thinking along those lines. And that is, being a servant is not the best thing to be, because you are at the command of somebody else. So when she thought like that, at that moment, this thought occurred to her only momentarily, only just for a moment. that moment, and immediately she straightened and said, no, it's not like that. By the time she corrected herself and removed the folly in what she was thinking, at that time, a big eagle flew down from the sky, swooped down, gathered this little pot of poison she had put on the parapet wall, gathered it in its beak, and started flying away, and very soon disappeared in the sky, and flew high and disappeared. Now, what will Sumitra do? She was absolutely shell-shocked. Just imagine, put yourself in Sumitra's situation. The poison was obtained after how many years of penance that Dasaratha had gone through. His pure heart and devotion and bhakti and prayers, and finally that culminated in the yagam, and then the divine being came and handed over the poison to him. And here, she has lost her share. It's gone. How will she go and report this to the king? How will he do that? And what stratagem can he employ? It's not possible. She was absolutely dumbfounded, shell-shocked. She didn't know what to do. So she immediately ran to Kausalya's chambers. Because, remember, Kausalya, Sumitra, Kaikeyi, they were living as one being in three different bodies. That concord, that consonant, that harmony. This is how people should live. You must respect the different bodies, but the oneness should be there. So she rushed there, and then she shared what happened with her. And what to do? Do we inform the king about this? That's what they were talking. At that time, Kaikeyi came to Kausalya's chambers also, carrying her part of Payasam. And then both Kausalya and Sumitra brought her up to speed on what had happened. Without the slightest hesitation, both Kausalya and Kaikeyi. Kausalya went and brought another golden cup that looked exactly like the one that they had. And Kausalya poured a little bit from her portion of Payasam into that cup. And Kaikeyi poured a little bit of portion from her portion into that cup. And they said, let us not divulge this to anyone. So now this way, each one of us has the cup and we have Payasam in it. Let us go and finish off what we have to do. This is what happened in the private chambers. So now, carrying the 3 cups of Payasam, they came to the puja room, and where Vasishtha and Rishyasringa and Dasaratha were all waiting, because they had gone past the wives to go and take bath and come, so they come back properly attired and all that, a very auspicious way. And then they placed the Payasam in the altar and did namaskaram and worship. And then they fell at the feet of Vasishtha and asked for his blessings. And Vasishtha directed them to take the blessings of Rishyasringa. So they fell at his feet and took his blessing. And then when Vasishtha signaled, they drank the Payasam in the puja room in the presence of Vasishtha, Rishyasringa and Dasaratha. Now nobody else knew. Dasaratha did not know about this. So the Payasam was drunk, and as time went by, the changes took place, with how a woman, an ordinary woman, when she becomes a mother, about to become a mother, and the baby grows in her womb, there is a separate tejas that comes to the human body. All of us have seen in our own life, and when the wife becomes pregnant, there's a separate tejas. There's something, a glow that happens. That's a sign of divinity in each one of us. And that's what happened. And they were protecting them and everything was done the same way, beautifully. And then the 10th month came. And then the beautiful thing happened. What happened? Everybody was waiting, like the way we all wait, when our wives become, or those of you who have delivered babies, or those of you who have been fathers, and the baby comes, we go to the hospital, we pace up and down, we wait and wait and wait, right? So like that, they've been waiting. Now the moment came. So how was the news conveyed? The maid came running from Kausalya's chambers to where Dasaratha was waiting. Oh, Maharaja, you have a son, And imagine the the pleasure and the happiness and the bliss that the king experienced at that moment. Now, what will you do when you get a piece of good news like that? Naturally, you will give a gift to the person who brings the good news. And so what it done? He's a king, so befitting a king, what did he do? He took a diamond necklace, and from the chest, and he gave it as a gift to the maid who came running and conveyed this good news to him. But what did the maid do? She said, Maharaja, no, I don't want the necklace. I don't want the necklace. It's a great blessing for me. It's my greatest fortune and the blessing from Bhagavan that I'm able to fondle this child, care for this child, and take the baby in my arm. What more can I ask for? So she refused. That's a mindset people in those days had. They were not after money. They were not after wealth. So she said, the blessing of touching the Bhagavan who has come in human form, that is priceless. When the next day, the second child was born. This child was born to Kaikeyi, and then the day after that, the twins were born to Sumitra. So the king had now 4 sons. So he fell at the feet of Vasishtha and said, Swami, Vasishtha was a stickler for not only rules, but also for following the dharmic practice. A stickler extraordinary. Okay, very carefully he was following everything, and it was not things that we call as rituals were not really rituals for him. They were spiritual activities. So he did all the things that you have to do while the wives were pregnant. You have to do different various functions and rites. He did all that even before the child was born. He did all those. So when the child was born and all the 4 children were born, and he fell at the feet of Vasishtha and he said, Swami, you must bless these children. You must bless these children. And Vasishtha took one look at Rama and he said, Vasishtha was knowledgeable, like he knew, he had the knowledge. It is not correct to say he was well educated or a scholar. No, he was beyond all that. So he really knew. And he said, because of the knowledge, he didn't fall into the ignorance. He said, who am I to bless this? He is the one, this child, the Bhagavan, the entity that is there everywhere. Paramatma has taken human form. And I have the fortune with my eyes to see this. He told Maharaja, he said, Maharaja, don't think that I've been here for the name and the fame, being your chief priest and the name and everything else goes with the position that I'm holding, being the chief priest and all that everybody consults me and takes me advice. No. That's not the reason I'm here. I took birth. I've been in your lineage for how many generations that Vasishtha has been there? Only because I knew Bhagavan Sriman Narayana himself, he's going to manifest himself. The invisible, the formless love that is going to take a human form. And that avataram, to have the darshan and the sparshan and the sambhashan with that avataram is the reason I have come here and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Now I see that form, that human form. Now you think I am deluded like you? You think he is your son. But no, I know different. Who am I to bless him? That's what Vasishtha told king. And he wiped his eyes and then he went away. That's what happened when Rama was born. And then the other various, the news was of course conveyed as soon as the children were born. How the news was conveyed in the kingdom, you have to picture that. There's a huge announcement that done in all, where the big junctions, the major roads all meet in the big junctions in various maidans and grounds and all public places, different messengers were sent and they beat the drums to bring the attention of everyone, and they shared the news that yes, we have a son. This is what they said. They didn't say king has a son. They didn't say Kausalya had a son. They said we have a son. And the whole society, the whole citizenry, they all erupted in joy. And everybody shouted, Jai. Now, they were so happy. They were even happier than when they had children at their own house. That's how much bondage, how much closeness, and that they felt the love they had for the king. So the huge burden that everybody was feeling, not only Dasarata was feeling that who's going to take care of the kingdom, even the citizens were feeling what's going to happen to the kingdom, right? And they didn't think about what's going to happen to me. They said what's going to happen to the kingdom for the welfare of everyone. So it's like that burden has been lifted. So they jumped up in joy, and my God, prayers were done, Vedic chantings were taking place, and people were doing, harati and music and dance, and you can imagine the thunderous, joyous, festive atmosphere in the city of Ayodhya. Then the king requested Vasishta's presence, and then Vasishta came, and the king fell at his feet again and took his permission to speak and said, Swami, now the children are born, now we have to decide on the Namakaranam, that we have to select an auspicious time for that function, and so you only must guide and determine that. So Vasishta again went into Dhyanam, and he just could not believe the experience he was having when he was in Samadhi, because he knew what's happening. Opened his eyes and he said, Maharaja, yes, that is true, you have 4 sons. It is true that, the eldest queen delivered the first child on this day, the next day Kaikeyi delivered, and then the day after that the twins were born. But because the eldest queen delivered on that particular day, it is the appropriate, and the propriety is that they call it as the 10 days of, it is not impurity. Impurity is an English word, but that is when you have to give rest. And so the 11th day from the day that the first child was born is the day we will fix for the Namakaranam day for all the 4 children. And everybody agreed, and immediately the Vasishta called his ministers and various pundits and scholars and different messengers of different caliber, different authority levels, and he sent invitations to everybody in the far and wide corners within that huge kingdom that he was ruling. So everybody, sub-rulers and all other people and all the citizens were invited from all the kingdom. But according to the level of achievement, whether it is a worldly achievement or spiritual achievement or skills or whatever it is, groups of people, representatives of groups of people, corresponding to that, different types of messengers were sent and carrying the news for asking them to come on this 11th day. That day was fixed for Namakaranam. And my God, the crowd that descended on Ayodhya that day is something only you can imagine. Because everybody looked at it as his own, like we call as in modern language, we say taking ownership, right? But they had ownership. They automatically had a natural ownership to what was happening. It was theirs. They didn't think it belonged to the king. He said, they belong to me. That kind of ownership they had. So lots of people came and to receive them, appropriate pandals, and rooms were all constructed and temporary shelters and all that. And according to their status, the accommodations are given. And into the private quarters of the king's palace, not everybody could enter that. But the sages and the rishis could enter that. The pandits, so different people could enter. And depending upon different levels, they would be stopped. And Vasishta and a few other rishis had the absolute freedom to go even to the innermost chambers of that palace. But otherwise, all the others could go only up to a certain point. So they all had come, and then the auspicious day came, which everybody was waiting for. They were all dressed in. Nowadays, when we go and perform Sita Kalyanam, for example, how we dress ourselves up even to go to the temple. Imagine this is the birth of Bhagavan himself. So how people would have dressed in beautiful attires and well-dressed, and everybody was happy and smiling and joyous and singing and dancing, and they all went there and waited in that huge pandal that had been erected, and at the appointed time, Vedic chanting began, and then the bugles and the drums and everything started beating, And, the different groups of people doing different things. Some people were singing, some people were reciting bhajan, some people were chanting Veda, some people were playing on drums. I mean, it's a fantastic festive atmosphere. And the appointed time, Dasaratha came, and then followed by the 3 queens. They were carrying the babies in their arms. As soon as they entered, a huge shout came out of the crowd. Jai! Everybody, the rapturous applause, and such a fantastic welcome noise it was. Then once that quietened down, in the meantime the Vedic chanting was going on. The Brahmins started that, and then they brought 4 golden plates, and on the golden plate they sprinkled rice. On that they placed a silk cloth. Then on top of that cloth, the babies were laid on those 4 plates. And then Vasishtha was invited. He went near the first baby to give its name. And as soon as he neared that baby, something fabulous happened. That little baby, 10 days old, it was kind of kicking his feet and all that, but it looked at Vasishtha and smiled. Smiled in a way, it's a smile of familiarity. Yes, it's like you greeting a friend, somebody whom you have seen before. How do you greet him? Somebody who is very close to you. It was like that. And Vasishtha was taken aback. And he could not stop crying. In that huge gathering in front of everybody, this Brahma Rishi, a person who is in Samadhi, who has gone over the differences and has become one with the one, he could not stop shedding tears. That love that attracted him from that baby, one of familiarity. Yes, you are mine, come on. That's the way the baby was saying. And so he took his Angavastram and wiped the tears from his eyes and looked at the baby. Could not take his eye off that baby. Just could not. And then he told the king, Maharaja, this is not an ordinary baby. He is born to bring joy and pleasure and happiness to everyone, not only to everyone in this whole universe, but also to every being. And that is why this child to Kausalya has taken birth. Do for all mankind. And, very presence of him and very thought of him. And what will it do to people? And what will it do to even the plants and the stones and what we call as lifeless, everything in this whole creation. What will the very thought of this boy do? It will bring solace and contentment. It will bring peace. The moment you think of him, you become peaceful. The moment you think of him, you become contented. That is why this baby is born to Kausalya. Not only that, the yogis and the seekers, there is Bhagavan, I want to touch him, I want to embrace him. People are seeking Bhagavan. What do those people do? They will see in this boy, in this baby, greatest source of joy, Anandam. Therefore, from this moment, his name will be Rama. Rama means one who pleases. Ramyate iti Ramaha. The moment Vasishtha pronounced that name, the whole crowd rose up in thunderous applause. Oh, what a name. Excellent, excellent, excellent. They were all so happy. And then Vasishtha looked at the twin children that were lying down there, of children of Sumitra. And the elder one, he knew he will be a great hero, phenomenal fighter, and he will be endowed with tremendous wealth. But also Vasishtha knew that elder boy of Sumitra will take tremendous delight in the service of Bhagavan and his consort Mahalakshmi. So, and this service that he does will be like his own breath. He knew that. That was his Lakshyam. So he chose the name Lakshmana for him. And then he looked at the younger son of Sumitra, and he knew this boy will grow up to be a formidable enemy of warriors. People will be in absolute awe and terror of him. That how much power and might that he will wield. He will conquer all the enemies. And not only that, not out of pride or anything, that out of strength. In absolute humility, he will be very contented and therefore very happy and peaceful in the footsteps of his elder brothers. And so he selected the name Shatrugna for him. Shatrugna means one who slays his enemies, one who kills his enemies, one who wins over his enemies. And then Vasishtha looked at the child of Kaikeyi. And that child, Vasishtha knew, will fill all hearts with love and joy, even for time immemorial. You think of that baby, you will be happy and you will feel only love. That's what he will prompt in you. And not only that, he will amaze everyone by his strict adherence to dharma. Then he will rule over his subjects with compassion and with love and sympathy and justice. So he gave him the name Bharata. Bharata means one who rules. And so all the people were very happy in hearing these four names. And from that day onward, they called the princes Rama, Lakshmana, Shatrugna, and Bharata. Immediately after the ceremony, befitting a king, Dasharatha arranged a very fantastic feast, a sumptuous feast for everybody who had come. And not only that, he gifted away many, many things. For the people who were needy and who were poor, he gave them gold and clothes and whatever they needed. And scholars appropriate to them, he gifted them. And he made sure, on the huge throng of people, every single person was individually attended to. This is the dharma we must follow. When we invite people, even the lowliest of the lowly, we must treat him and attend and make sure he lives happy. Very important, contented and happy. That is how he did. And then he gave permission for everyone to take their leave, and they left. Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.